an interview with Harrison Ford. It was stuff like that that we'd take out of magazines, stick it with blue tack or glue, and they would eventually erode the paint away. So at the end of it, we all got fined. Yes. We ruined this house. But that's just to paint the image. This is an image about Dave. Intelligent and creative, thoughtful person, but he had that Jekyll and Hyde personality. Lovely guy, Dave, evil, crazy, psycho dude at night. And the story is actually, I'm losing my voice now. It's just right last thing of the live show, just couldn't talk, just stay silent for a week, it's brilliant. This is when we came back after the Easter break, 3 week off, we all got back together into the house. Lovely warm sunny day, basically this time of year. Yeah. Weather was nice, we all went to the pound shop and bought water pistols. Okay. And we had a lovely fun day, hot summer day, squirting each other with little water pistols, having fun. Dave thought it'd be a cracking idea to take them to the student union. Right, okay. And I thought, alright, crazy, we'd squirt each other on the way. No. Dave saved his water, stood in a crowded student union bar, just squirting strangers. Hiding the gun in the crook of his arm, and squirting people in the face. So they didn't know who were getting squirted. Well, there's me and Colin holding water pistols. So we were getting threatened, basically, for squirting people in the face. The night went on as usual. Colin and I went home. Dave stayed out with his other friends. Got steaming drunk. Came home plastered. Right. I was in the toilet. He came, banged on Colin's door. Oh, Colin! Oh, and Colin was sort of talking to him in that drunk. Hello, yes, talking to a drunk person. What's that you say? I came out of the toilet and started squirting him in the back of the head with a water pistol. But he was so drunk he didn't notice. So I started pouring water down his back. So drunk, did not notice. Jesus. Colin had to point out that I was squirting water at him, that he was getting drenched. And because he was all of a sudden drenched and drunk, he got really, really angry. And so began what was probably the funniest night of my life. Okay. Because you've not lived, Steve, until you've drenched a drunk man. Okay. I don't mean that in a sexual way. Basically what would happen is he went to his room, he'd got a cup of water, a cup that I'm sure had been filled with Jack Daniels, all manner of things. Yeah, it sort of had foam and things in it. Filling it up from his tap in his room and throwing it at me. And I was in my bedroom, closed the door, and I decided to fill my kettle. Right, okay. And just chugged some gallons at a time all over him. And it was the funniest time of my life. Imagine a drunk, short man in the landing of a student accommodation screaming at someone, throwing a glass of water while I was just throwing a gallon full of kettle all over him. So it'd be, Dave, look, I say, Dave, seriously now, let's calm down, let's chat. I'd open my door and say, alright then, kettle of water in the face. I've never seriously laughed so much. But Dave got angrier and angrier to the point where one time when I did open the door, he threw an unopened bottle of Jack Daniels at my head. Oh, shit. Launched it. I slammed my door shut just in time for the bottle to hit the door. Smash! Millions of pieces of glass, whiskey everywhere, whiskey over my bed, glass over my bed, glass all over the landing floor. And it was then that I sort of switched on that dad mode, which is like, stop, that's wrong road, we're going down the wrong road here, guys. Because Dave's bare feet trudging around broken glass, and then I had to spend 3 hours tidying this thing up. I remember picking pieces of tiny glass that was embedded in the wall, embedded in my door, and soaking up an entire bottle of whiskey. And like I say, when we actually left that house, a couple of months later, we all got fined £150 because it needed redecorating. because of the glass in the wall, because of the images of Stephen Fry's face. The toilet we rededicated as the Stephen Fry experience. So as you were witty, you were just there must have been about 300 different images of Stephen Fry. I so want a picture, a photo of that toilet to send to Stephen Fry and just say, look what was happening. How proud of you? How proud of you? You had your own experience. Wow. But that's my story about my day. That's brilliant. Oh, cool. Cheers. That's awesome. Thanks, yeah, I mean, on a not quite so similar thing. Again, I was told today by my little sister. She listens to this. Hey, little sister, is that Sleepy Bug one? No, the other one. That's Lindsay. Who I need to stop talking about America because a lot of my stories have been based in America, but this one, it's only a little quickie, but when I was working in America, we used to have to stay up at night and sort of make sure the kids were in bed and asleep. I was working at camp. Yeah. But quite often, when you were on duty, you'd sit there for 2 hours, and the kids would just stay up with you. And we had curfews, and at 11 o'clock they had to be in their rooms, and we didn't care if they were asleep or not. As long as you're in your room at 11, do what you like. Yeah. A lot of them were around the 14 mark, and we just assumed they'd gone in there to wank. So as long as the door was shut, I didn't care what they were doing. Yeah. As long as that door stayed closed, and in the morning when we knocked on the door, they got out of bed. Yeah. That was it. Once that door's shut, I don't care what you're doing. That's a nice, good attitude. I'm really caring and thoughtful, mate. But yeah, I got on quite well with my group of kids. They were all sort of 14, 15, and there was a really random mix of like
really big athletic jock kids and really little geeky Super Jew kids. Sounds terrible, but they were, you know. I had a 14-year-old kid, and he can't have been more than like 5'2". Yeah. Proper curly hair.
Oh, the Jew pro.
Yeah, exactly. His name was Seth.
Oh,
I was just like, you are the most Jewish person I've ever met in my life.
You sure it wasn't Seth Green?
It might have been. It's unlikely, but he was like, and he was one of the nicest kids I've ever met. But one night we stayed up, and it was, I've said before, you know, it was 100 degrees, and even at night it was sort of in the 80s, and we'd sit in. It was like almost like a crossroads, because we stayed in what was, in essence, university halls. Yeah. And so it was like a crossroads for the floor. And we all sort of splintered off into these little rooms, and then the crossroads was where whoever was on duty had to sit, so they could see down all the passageways, to make sure the kids weren't thing. I mean, most of the time we'd sit and just read a book. Yeah. Or I took my notebook up quite often and wrote bits of my novel and things like that. Or just read a book, write postcards, whatever, you know. Mm. Quite often some of the kids would have like little DVD players, and because they were going to bed, we'd be like, this is your DVD player, and you just sit and watch a film while trying to stay awake. But my kids, we got on quite well, so quite often they'd stay up with us. And because they were 14 and 15, farts were funny.
Well, what do you mean 14 and 15?
And Brian will assume, you know, from your earlier Brian's comment that people have to laugh at his farts. I'm okay with that. Yeah. At the age of 14 and 15, farts are the funniest thing in the world. Now, yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that now when I'm 30, but that's sort of what they decided was going to be funny that evening. And because I'd already done, you know, 6 weeks of 17-hour days, 6 days a week, I was a bit worn down and a bit giddy, and that made me laugh. And you know that this is going to be really wrong, and my mum's going to not thank me again. But,
you're always worried about what your mum thinks.
I love my mum's faces.
But is she actually listening?
No, I don't think she is. After she came last week and Rich was mean to her at the live show. I don't think she'll ever listen to anything I ever do. Yeah, but no, the kids sat there and one of them farted, and I went, "You dirty bastard!" Obviously, we didn't temper our language for these kids because they were 15. They know what a bastard is. Yeah, most of them were. And so I sort of, you know, in my unguarded moment, went, "You dirty bastard! That's foul!" Caught sniffing it, and they started giggling, and that set us all off. And we had we spent 10 minutes just going, that's really wrong. Actually, no, you need to see a doctor. That's disgusting. And then, I don't know what everybody had eaten. I think it must have been one of those pizza nights where everybody had eaten too much cheese, and somebody else did it. And then it became like almost like a competition of who could do the nastiest fart. And I really honestly would not have liked to come into that corridor the next morning. Because basically 10, 15-year-olds